Welcome to Shortstop on Pool. I should have a fully operational table in a couple of days. As you can see, right now it's just the slate. But I can't help myself, I've got to make a video. I've been working all day. I got my closet taken out. I've been patching drywall and patching the floor. And just really jonesing to play some pool. It's going to be happening real soon. But I got a question from a subscriber and someone who's got my book about straight pool. And so I thought I'd make a real quick video, answer his question, and maybe some of you guys out there will find this interesting too. The question is this: as you can see, I've just got some balls sitting on a piece of chalk, so I can't demonstrate shots. But we're going to look at these shots because we can tell where the pockets are on the table. So the scenario is this: it's the end of a rack of straight pool, and the question is there a way to continue the run? Is there a way to break open the rack and continue this run from here? Obviously, this isn't the ideal situation. There's no break ball anywhere, kind of that you can to speak of. But what are the options here? There's 3 shots that I see. There's 3 ways to continue the rack. Now, that said, this kind of reminds me of a joke. You've all heard the joke: a guy goes to the doctor and says, "It hurts when I do this," and the doctor says, "Well, don't do that." That's my answer to this. Don't leave the cue ball there. Perhaps the player was playing position here for the 14, and then you can come out and have a shot on a ball off the head spot to come 2 rails and break the rack. Maybe that's what they were trying to do and they didn't get there. The thing is, don't do this. Get better position. Or it also reminds me of a lesson that I gave recently where someone asked, they said, "A lot of my runs are ending because I miss a combination. How do I make more combinations?" And my answer to that was, don't shoot as many combinations. Stop shooting combinations. They're a lot harder than you think. It's better to play a pattern where you're opening up the balls, so that you don't have to shoot the combination. Well, I think a lot of players look for combinations because they think it's fun or a trick or cool to shoot a combination out of the pack and open balls up. No, the best strategy is not to have to shoot the combination at all. Same thing here. The best strategy is to end up a shot. But if you're trying to set a high run, you're going to go for it. You're going to try and make a shot and try and open the rack somehow because you have nothing to lose. And I really think that's one of the cool things about straight pool. It's one of the beautiful things of straight pool. You'll see shots or patterns attempted that you'll never see at any other time in any other game. And I think that's really one of the beautiful things about straight pool. If it was a match that really counts, I think you would play safe. So, like I said, I think there's 3 ways to get into the next rack here. First, I'll mention the safeties, though, because that's also important. If this is an important match, and you have no way to get in, no real reliable way to get into the rack, how would you play safe here? I see 2 safes. There's 2 things you can do. The first is leave distance, and the second is tie up balls. So, if you're going to leave distance, what does that mean? It almost always means the most common safeties are 1 ball to the center of the short rail and the other ball to the center of the other short rail. Well, how do you do that here? The way you do it is you bank this 14 ball basically backwards, really thin. And maybe you can't bank it all the way to the center of the bottom rail, but if you can bank it to the center of the table behind the 15, that's great. And the cue ball is naturally going to go up table. And if I was really trying to bank this 14 thin, I think my cue ball would go side rail, and then a 3rd side rail, and then over towards the center of the table. I think that's just how it lays from here. Now, the shot's going to change a lot. If the cue ball is, let's say, here, that changes it a lot, because now to bank the 14 to the center of the bottom rail, you're not hitting it as thin. So from here, I think you would just use a little bit of right English, side rail, and then straight to the head rail. And this lays really well for that because you want to use right English on this shot. Right English is going to throw the 14 ball wide to make sure that you don't come over here and leave a shot. Okay? Right English is going to throw the cue ball wide up table And then that same right English is going to kill the speed and the angle of the cue ball off the second rail, and it'll just die right onto the head rail. So notice just a few inches difference. It depends on the angle that you're cutting it. And then if the cue ball's on this side, you really don't have that shot. It's going to be really tough to bank that 14 ball thin to get it behind the 15. So you can probably look for something else. The other option that I see, if the cue ball's approximately there, would be to tie up balls. So how are you going to tie up balls from here? Again, you got to bank the ball backwards, but if you can bank the 15 ball backwards towards the 15, the cue ball is going to go 3 rails. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, and then back across this way. Hopefully you don't scratch in that side pocket. But imagine if the 15 ball stops on the rail here and the cue ball stops on the rail here. You've left your opponent nothing, you've tied the balls. You got to think about those two safeties, you're really accomplishing 2 different goals. Because when you're banking the 14 to the bottom rail and putting the cue ball up here, you're challenging your opponent to shoot. And you're hoping that your opponent gives you an opportunity where you're going to be able to shoot and get into the very next rack. Whereas, if you shoot the safety where you're just tying up balls, you're just playing a waiting game because your opponent will have options to return a safety from there. And you're not going to get a shot. And so it's going to end up probably going down to the point where one opponent finally gets a shot, pockets one of the balls, and then plays safe on the other balls. And then you're going to end up playing safe into the beginning of the next rack. So that's kind of what you want to think about when you're deciding if you want to play safe one of those 2 ways. But the question that was posed to me is, how do you run out, how do you get into the next rack from here? And I see 3 options. Obviously, I use green tape to mark the triangle area. This is the rack area. And then I use the piece of green tape here to kind of suggest where the head spot might be. So what are the 3 ways that you can get into the rack from here? By the way, I guarantee some of you are gonna see a shot that I don't see. Let me know in the comment section what you would shoot if you're not going to play safe, if you're going for it. All 3 of the shots that I'm going to show you, I would classify as recovery shots. That means they might be 50% shots or a little less. That they don't have to go for sure. They're just they're not hallelujahs, but they're options that are not the highest percentage, and you wouldn't shoot in a match that really counted. But we're trying to keep our run going. So the first one that I see is playing the bank shot on the 14. Because this ball's in the rack, it's going to spot. So you want to play position to the center of the table so that you can cut this ball in one of the corner pockets and go 2 rails into the rack. So the angle for the bank shot's over here, which means, and my cue ball's approach into the 14 is less than that angle. So the cue ball's going to run. So if I bank the 14 in the side, I don't want to use high or low, just a center ball with left English. And the cue ball is going to run 3 rails. So you're just playing speed control kind of to center table. You know, if the cue ball comes up and you're short of center table, that's ideal to cut the break ball into the left pocket and come 2 rails out of this corner into the rack. But if your cue ball comes a little bit faster and ends up on this side of center table, then you might have an angle to cut the object ball into this pocket 2 rails out of that corner. Even if your cue ball stops in the center of the table, by the center I mean along this axis, even if it stops in the center, you're going to be able to cut the ball to the left or the right and bring the cue ball into the rack area. So that's an option. I might choose that option. I think it's a really good one, and it gives you the most reasonable break shot. Even though the ball off the head spot isn't the best break shot, it's the most reasonable from this layout. So what's the second shot? The second one is a side of rail break shot. Now, usually this ball's pretty high, so you might not recognize it as that. When a ball's near the rail, kind of across from the rack area, that's a very good break shot. And it actually, in my experience, is you have a very good chance of opening the rack well when the object ball is down here across from the rack. When it's higher, you're going to want to use some inside English to get the cue ball down into the rack. This is one of those things I made that video recently called The Perfect Angle, and I said the perfect angle for most shots if you're trying to run out is 15 degrees. Well, 15 degrees is going to be something like this, okay? And that's not enough angle for this break shot. The ideal angle for this break shot is probably 30 degrees. It's probably at least over here. And thinner is even okay. It's all right. It's even better. Because when you hit this ball thinner, then the object ball isn't going to be moving as fast, but the cue ball will retain more energy, which is what we want to go into the rack. So on this break shot, thinner is better. You're going to be using a little bit of left English to get the cue ball down into the rack. And with the cue ball moving across the ball and left English, throwing the object ball this way from the shot line, you really want to be aiming this object ball to the outside of the corner of the pocket, the outside point, not the inside. And then because if you get a real thin angle, the object ball is not going to be moving as fast. It makes the pocket bigger. So how do you get there? And it's pretty natural from here. Well, it's going to be a little difficult for a right-hander because I can't reach it like this. So I'm either going to be stretched out over the table or I'm going to be shooting to the bridge. But it's cutting the 15 to the left pocket is a natural route for the cue ball to come 2 rails. And you just want to miss the 14 when you come off the second rail, you'll have that angle. Anywhere from here, the cue ball will be traveling at this angle, so anywhere from here up to here, you're going to have that cut angle. That's my second choice. I think that's a great choice as well. Depends which shot you like better. Now, so if you come 2 rails and you get the cue ball on this line, you're going to get some angle like this to cut the ball. So you're using left English, and what you want to do is hit the top of the rack. It's very easy to hit the center of the rack, and the cue ball will just stick there, and you have no shot. It's also easy to hit the corner ball and have the cue ball go to the bottom rail, and the balls are up there, and you don't have a shot. When the cue ball comes this way and hits the head of the rack, you're going to knock the corner ball and probably 1 or 2 other balls that way. You're not trying to smash the rack wide open. You're just trying to get a few balls loose. So if you can come and hit the head of the top of the rack, then your cue ball could go to the rail and come out, and you should have a shot on one of these balls into this corner pocket. All you're trying to do is get a follow-up shot where you can play position for a rebreak, or maybe get a rebreak right on your first shot. So that's what you're looking for, and that's a shot you should practice, because you are just not always going to get an optimal break shot. Sometimes you've got to make the less than optimal work. And so that's a very reasonable route as far as recovery shots go. Then there's a third one, which is kind of a show-off shot, and I think that's all it's good for. But I've done this before, and it's very fun when it works out. You got to get lucky to make this work out. It's the same shot, cutting the 15 into the left corner pocket, but this time you want to use a little bit of inside possibly. You want to bring the cue ball close to the 14, hit the rail in front of the 14, and then hit the 14 on your way off the rail. Because if you're lucky and you hit it just right, you're going to cut the 14. The 14 is going to hit the rail and bounce off, and your cue ball is going to carry them off the 14 in this direction, leaving you a cut shot in the side to go 2 rails behind the rack and open the rack. So practice that one. You'll a couple times you'll hit it too deep, and you'll get behind the 14 and just knock it over here, and the cue ball will stop here, which isn't what you want. But it's actually a big ball to come this way and come across the 14. And even if you don't knock the 14 in front of the side pocket, you might knock it over here a little bit, and the cue ball is going to go this way. Well, now you've got a bank shot on the 14 in the side, 2 rails behind the rack. So there's your third option for continuing a run from this spot. Let me know in the comments if you see a shot that I didn't mention. And thanks for watching. I can't wait to get back to making videos, and I can't wait to start shooting pool on this table. It's only going to be a couple of days. The mechanic's going to be here either tomorrow or the day after. And so Friday, July 7th, I should be playing pool here. That's going to give me enough time to finish the patch of the closet and the flooring here and get the artwork hung and get this area cleaned up and get back to pool. Thanks for watching. I hope you like that. See you soon. Bye.